AI is here to stay. The what I would recommend the young generation is be as close as possible to digital technology and AI and machine learning because this is the future.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of CAIS, which is the Carleton AI show. And this is on behalf of the Carleton AI Society. So today we have a special guest. His name is Nayeem Ekbal, and he is a seasoned and result-oriented management executive with practical experience and in-depth understanding of a diverse business management application, including strategy and revenue planning, sales and marketing, team building, and operational management. He's backed with many years of expertise in aviation and information technology industry. He offers a rare combination of commercial and operational management skills with an in-depth understanding of technical IT systems. So hello.
Hi, Dana. How are you? Thanks for inviting me.
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on to the show. We really appreciate it that you're sharing all your expertise with us.
Thanks for inviting, and I hope my talk will be beneficial to the young generation, which is there in the market and studying currently, like in colleges and universities, and looking for a bright future.
Well, thank you so much. So I guess we'll get started with the questions. So the first question we have is obviously since we are in artificial intelligence society, how did you become interested in technology and artificial intelligence?
Dana, as you know, currently, I'm the CEO of ReveMax. We do like a lot of strategic solution for airline industry. And in an airline industry, it is always important to churn the data, which is in a trillion gigabytes of data that needs to be churned. And we need like a sophisticated technology to make sense out of that data and which can be converted into information. As when I started my career, I was always a very curious person, and being in an airline industry, AI was one of the most important aspect when it comes to facial recognition and predictive analysis. AI has even become more important in the current situation where we are talking touchless travel. So, when I started my career in computer, I was always excited to see how does the computer talk to me, talk back to me. Like when I say, "How are you?" It will respond with some response. That was like the start of curiosity, which made me get into like computers, and from there on, like it has never stopped. And AI has become a part and parcel of the business what I do. It is very exciting to be in the AI and machine learning field, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, that's good that you're enjoying it. It's nice to hear that someone who's interested and is willing to talk to us more about it as well. So, just a little background on you first. You said you worked in the airline industry. So, would you be willing to talk a little more about how the airline industry works and like what technologies do you use and how they might be useful?
Yeah, see, airline industry is a kind of a very complex industry, where if you look at it, like it's one of the unique business where the money is not owned by the airline unless the passenger travels. Like basically, when you, I'm sure, like you have traveled the taken airlines many times when you travel. So when you pay, when you make a booking, say like 2 months out, that means like the money is still not owned by the airline. The money only becomes theirs once you fly and sit on the aircraft. So it has like a huge complexity when it comes to the commercial aspect of it. When I say commercial aspect is when you talk about the pricing, the supply and demand, like how do you price it? And then you have the engineering part of it. How do you maintain the aircraft? Like how do you keep it safe? And then you have cargo and like handling and the landing and handling, how it is managed at the airport and all that. So it is a very big industry and very complex. The first step, basically, when you talk about the airline, you talk about the big data which needs to be transferred into information. The second step is like basically using this data and the information. How do you forecast for the future? Because like the most important thing is like in an airline industry is to maximize revenue. So forecast and predictive analysis becomes the second step, and the last but not the least is AI and machine learning. So, like when we talk about predictive analysis and forecast, we'll use like a lot of statistical modules like regression analysis, time series, Python, and so many other statistical modules. And also like we use linear programming kind of philosophy which like optimizes the network revenue. And then when you come to AI, when you see, if you look at it, AI is defined into two entities. Basically, it is a symbolic learning and also machine learning. It uses the symbolic learning also when we talk about facial recognition at the airport, and also like the predictive analysis, which comes under the machine learning, which has like a deep learning, statistical learning and pattern recognition. So like these are some of the technology what are being used in airline, and they become very useful. Machine learning especially is very much used in the commercial aspect of it, where the data is used to predict for the future what is the kind of revenue you're going to generate and where like you're not going to make it, like basically using linear programming, budgeting module, and all that. So, that becomes a very important aspect of the airline. And the second thing is when you talk about the symbolic learning at the airport, facial recognition has become a kind of a in thing. When the passenger comes to the airport, like he is recognized and he is connected. And the journey begins from there. Like the airlines are trying to be in touch with the passenger, telling him which gate to go to, which where is his baggage, how where does he board, like what are the time remaining to reach the aircraft, and like when he lands, like where which belt your baggage is on. See, these are some of the things like which they are trying to connect the passengers and give him a kind of a comfortable journey across right from the start to the end. But however, it is restricted by like a lot of entities, the government regulation and all that. But these are the things which may come in the future. But this is how like the airline industry is moving and the technology what they're using.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you played an advisory role with airline CEOs such as Sri Lankan Airlines and so on. And specifically, you helped implement commercial and revenue management systems. So is that what you did more so in terms of applying AI to the field?
Absolutely, yeah. That is what I do. My expertise lie in churning out the big data and making sense out of it. Like if you look at it, like airline has so much data. I can just the speak a little bit about it. You have so many silo systems. For example, like when you talk about target, when you make a budget for the airline for the whole year, like you have a revenue planning the system, and then you have reservation system, like where you guys, like when you make a booking through online or like through an agent, like the bookings are made, and that comes through reservation system. Then the revenue accounting system are the ones where once you have flown, they get it accounted for. So like there is already three systems we have to deal with. Then you have market intelligence data, which is an external data which tells you about the competition of the airline. Then you have internal management information system. It gives you some information on availability, capacity, and other stuff. Then you have connection builder. For example, like a passenger traveling from JFK to Manila, like it has taking two flights. So basically there needs to be a connecting connection builder, so like they can price it accordingly. Then you have finance systems, where they talk about the flown data, basically the past. And then you have revenue management systems where you have like a route demand forecast, like fares, and then they talk about point of sale controls, which is more a little bit technical. Then the last but not the least, you have the sales system, where the commercial team normally looks at the distribution channel, from where the revenue is coming in from, how the agents are performing. So these systems are running in a trillion gigabytes of data each. So this data has to be collated, and you have to churn it and make into some kind of in decision making information for the strategy to be implemented. So this is what the job is, and this is where we come in and we use the machine learning and AI to bring in sanity to the airline for strategic decision making process.
Okay, cool. So, since you worked a lot in management, I had a few questions about what it was like to transition from an IT engineering degree to an MBA degree, and how did that help you in your career?
Yeah. See, it's a very good question you have raised, Dana. One of the things, if you look at some of the studies which have come across, there is a study by one of the famous consultancy McKinsey, and they what they say is today, if you look at it in the future, with the AI coming in, things are going to move big time towards job openings for advanced IT skills and programming, and also who have the basic digital skills. The jobs which will not be the coming into the front, and there will be no the demand may come down, is the physical and manual labor, where it will be coming down, and also basic cognitive kind of jobs which will come down, and the biggest jump will be on the technological part. So when I started, basically when I finished my engineering, I'm an engineering graduate. When I started, I got into IT field, but when you join IT field, has a kind of a one single perspective. You are just doing the programming for the business, but you don't understand the business. Somebody tells you write this code, and you write it, and you come up with a kind of a output. Whereas, if you move to the business side, one of the things what I wanted was, I wanted to get a kind of a feeler on what the business is all about, and that is the reason why I worked in IT, got a hang of how the IT the processes work, how the programming is done, and all that, and then shifted to the business. Then what happened was the skill set what brought in from the IT perspective as well as the business, I got a kind of a feel on the what the business require and what are the kind of limitation IT can provide. So it was a fantastic fit, where I am an expert in business and also I know IT. So there was a kind of a very, very good handshake between these two experience what I have. So once I did that, the other thing which was lagging, when I got into the business was I was able to do the nuts and bolts. Basically, I knew the IT programming side, and I know how to do the business. For example, managing the commercial aspect of it. But it lagged some of the things finance and marketing. I was not in a very good at finance or marketing, but these are the key component. When you get into the business side of it, if you want to make your career grow, like you have to have the knowledge of finance. You should know what is an NPV. NPV is net present value. What does it mean? How do you do branding? How do you do marketing? These are some of the aspects which will builds up your career to the next level. Like if you want to grow into executive positions and all that. So once I worked in an organization for 10 years, then only I did my MBA, and that opened my mind, which made me more confident, like because I have the experience as well as the knowledge, like in a wider perspective, and that gave me the confidence to think outside the box, and which was a very powerful tool, which was experience with knowledge. That is how I transferred, and that is my career growth, and that is how I have been able to the progress on my career path.
Okay, and so like you said, you started with an IT engineering degree and then you went from tech to business management, and now you have your own company, RevMax. So you're the CEO of that company. So what was it like to climb that management ladder, and what is it like to, after that, translate that career into starting your own company?
It was a very the smooth the kind of a transition. But for this, like I what I recommend, like who are the young generation is like you need to have a kind of a goal, like you need to have a kind of a vision, like where you want to be. And this, like when I was working for airline, I was growing into the management positions. One of the goals I had at the back of my mind was I needed to ultimately at certain age, after a certain number of years, I wanted to start my own business. So like for that, like I started looking at the gaps. Like what are the gaps in the airline industry? Do we have something which will see any business when you start? It is like you have to be little bit unique from the others, and you need to understand what are the gaps and what are the pain points that the industry has. And if you're able to master that and make sure like you're working towards it and making sure like your focused is basically to start your own business, you have to pinpoint and find out what the gaps are. And once you know the gaps and once you know like how you're going to achieve it, it becomes a kind of a very easy transition. So two things you have to watch out. You have to have the kind of a vision or a goal. Like it is not like you have to work within a couple of years and finish it off. No, you have to have a vision, a clarity of thought, what you need to do. And the second one is like find out what are the gaps or like the pain point the business has. And if you have these two, then you can easily try come down to the next level of running your own business.
All right, thank you so much for that input. So the next question we have is, what is your biggest interest in technology or AI? And what is your perspective, like in your perspective, what is the future of AI?
See, the AI is here to stay. Like the what I would recommend, the young generation is like be as close as possible to digital technology and AI and machine learning, because this is the future. If you look at it today, like in the current situation, things are like it has become very a kind of a necessity where like they need touchless technology. And for touchless technology and like the future what it is becoming, like you need to have a proper like a kind of a tools and mechanism and experience, like people who have experience in AI and machine learning. These are the jobs like which will be in demand in the future. But however, like one thing like you need to also look at it is like how do you the what are the barriers to this transformation? The barriers can be like the biggest barrier is culture, like and then the which is and then the process, and the third but last is the technology. The technology is robust, But when you bring in this transformation, like for example, thickly populated countries like India, China, where like they will use more of labor, so like their digital transformation will be very slow, whereas in the Western world, the digital transformation will be very high because the culture accepts the transformation, whereas in the developing countries, the acceptance is not high. And the processes, like the organizations needs to be, and the countries needs to be very open-minded to bring in new processes, which may impact some and which may not impact some. And then the technology kicks in at the last, but the technology is already there. The only thing is like how we go. So like what my the take on the AI is, like the young generation has to be very close to the digital arena, and like they need to make sure like they are the one step ahead of everything. And the last but not the least is be at the right place where you can use your digital expertise or AI machine learning, be in the countries where they support these kind of engagement.
Okay, well, thank you so much. So, since you have had so much experience, so many years of experience, I just wanted to ask you, in the past, during your journey, professional or personal, is there anything you wish you could have done differently? Any regrets or failures of any kind?
Yeah, there is one of the things like what I personally feel is initially when we are young, we have a kind of a a a passion to make money, and that was one of the, I won't say it is money is important to survive, but if your money becomes the core objective of being successful, then that I think like I should not have done. I should have been more running after passion. See, if you bring in passion into the work, like what you do, like money will follow. That is one of the I would say I would have done something different. If I'm given a second chance, and like as Wayne Dyer said, believing is seeing. He says, whatever you believe, like you will achieve it. So like that belief is nothing but your passion. So you should have the passion to see to do something which you and also believe in making it a reality. For this, you need your family support. Your family is so important, the close family, because there are like a lot of sacrifices you need to do. For example, when I was doing my MBA, the first thing like I did was gathered my family and I said, guys, like I'm going to pursue my MBA, but it requires like a lot of effort and time. I won't be able to spend time with you on the weekends and all that. And that support, like they agreed, they knew like what I'm going to get in, and that support made me run after the MBA. And the dean of the college was so happy because I fared very well in that. He wanted me to pursue PhD, but then that sacrifice was too much for the family, so I stopped it there. So like ultimately, what I'm trying to say is be passionate about what you do. Yes, money will follow through. But if you become passionate about money, the passion dies off.
Yeah, I think that's a really important message. So for the last question, it's a very broad question. It's just that, do you have any advice you would like to share to students who listen to this podcast?
See, one of the things again, I want to reiterate, when you're getting into AI, try to understand the basics. The one of the biggest challenge, like what I faced, like when I was recruiting, like a lot of student was the basics are not strong. And if the basics are not strong, then like if if you're given a kind of a complex the solution to be resolved, like that takes a kind of a back seat, and that is where the failure comes in. So whenever you're doing your studies, whenever you're going through any project or like learning new technology, what I would ask the young generation is to focus on the basics. If your basics are the strong, then any problem which you face in the future, like whether it's AI or machine learning or any other technology, you will be sailing through. But if your basics are not strong, then you will have a major issue in your future career and the growth. Like see, we can talk, we can do like a lot of we can do like a kind of a marketing pitch about ourselves, but like if your basics are not strong, you will not it is a superficial thing. It will last for you for a short time, but in the long term it is a major concern.
Okay, yeah, I definitely think that's some great advice since a lot of people aim high but don't know where to start. So starting from the basics is definitely really good advice. So last thing is, do you have anything else you would like to add or to share?
Just enjoy life. I always like this the what I say to everyone, even my kids. I said, enjoy the journey, and don't the focus too much on the destination, and that once you enjoy the journey, the destination will be more enjoyable in the future. So have fun, like enjoy every moment of your life, like that present is the most important thing. Don't worry about the past, and don't think about the future too much. Like take the moment as it comes and have fun. Like when you're in college, have fun, and wherever you are, enjoy every moment of the your time, and just keep smiling and laughing. Don't get yourself stressed out for thinking about too much of the future and the past. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great message to end the show today. I think that's something really important to remember, and it's just a great message. So thank you for sharing that. So
Thanks,
that
Dana.
concludes our podcast for today. So thank you so much for talking. It was a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks, Dana. Thank you very much. Like it's always a pleasure to talk to youngsters.
Thank you so much again.